All right, welcome back everybody to the Hearthstone Pro-Am. Coming up, we have Xixo versus Kolento. Xixo is playing about 30 feet from me behind three doors. Yeah, he's at C-Story Cup, just chilling. And Kolento, I believe, is somewhere. I know he's not available to come C-Story because of visa issues and other travel problems, so he's home for the weekend. And of course, here to cast along with me is Monk. How'd you enjoy that first series, man?
It was quick but sweet, I have to say. We got to see some pretty cool mech warrior decks, and we got to see Hunter destroyed a couple of times, so I guess that was enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. All right, so coming up here, we have, looks like Druid versus Druid. Is that a mirror?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
We don't see a lot of shades being played in other decks, so it's probably a fair assumption to say that it is Druid versus Druid. The
Okay.
lineups that both players will be bringing today are as follows. Kolento will bring Druid, Warrior, and Priest. Meanwhile, Xixo will be bringing Druid, Warlock, and Shaman.
All
And
right. Well, Shaman's the interesting one. I know Kolento really likes that priest. I guess
yeah,
the story of the series is that there's no major hunter to be seen. But you know what? I'm not complaining, Monk.
yeah. I feel like Kolento hero powers and says that was a mistake because obviously he didn't draw Wild Growth on turn one, and that's always going to be a mistake. I feel like after this first initial Druid versus Druid, after the probably the most common matchup in all of Hearthstone, the series will really pick up. We're going to see a lot of interesting matchups between classes like Priest and Shaman. Who knew, right?
Yeah, and you were telling me, Monk, that the matchups changed a little bit. No, maybe not too much, but definitely significant enough where, maybe at the same time, people have to be considering of certain cards that they weren't used to now that GBG's in full swing. So taking a look at how things have panned out, seems like the early tempo did get seized when 6-0 got Wild Growth. Kolento has been trying to fight back himself but he's kind of hit by this big wall here.
Yeah, the big wall known as Shrew the Cloud. We'll have to get something nice out of this Pilot Shredder. Unfortunately, Vitality Totem is not exactly what he wants. He does seize back board control, but now 6-0 has the initiative and more mana to do whatever he wants with it.
Yeah, that's inconvenient. Well, the Vitality Totem doesn't really do much because you want to have something on the board again. So that way you can start threatening your good trades. I guess it's another body so that if you do need a Savage Roar, it can do something. Emperor comes into hand, but Kalendra doesn't look like he has uh, I don't think he has a really good way to use that 6-drop slot right now. Does he have to answer the board, you think, or can he allow Dr. Boom to go one turn uncontested?
I feel like you do have enough you do have enough health right now. You're still at full health, sitting at 30 because of the sort of early game advantage that you have. With the Emperor play instead of Sylvanas, he's allowed to set up a lot more combos later on. It's giving yourself like at least 2.5 innervates. So you can do like cool combos like Azure Drake into Wrath next turn that only take up 5 mana, and then like add in a second Wrath perhaps if he draws it. If he draws an Innervate as well, that'll be pretty huge.
Oh yeah, I can definitely see that for sure. All right, well, looks like shielded mini bot. Wow, that's very convenient. Pretty sick card, and overall does very well against, especially when Druid has a hard time dealing with things efficiently already on the board with high health. That mini bot is very annoying considering that it's durable, so that maybe you can get the Savage Roar off.
Oh man, 6-0 again, misplacing the Pilot Shredder. Put it in the middle, guys. Dan, I want you to, after this cast is over, I want you to go to 6-0 and punch him in the mouth or something. Tell him that, no,
Whoa,
you have
in
to
the
put your
mouth?
Pilot Shredders in the middle.
Jeez, dude. That's a little savage, don't you think?
Well,
No,
uh,
not savage at all. All right.
that's just my style. That's how I roll, I guess. Alright, so,
Wow, you're hardcore, Monk. Jeez.
yes, that would be one way to describe me. So, fortunately, like, he gets Sylvanas on the board, but unfortunately, 6-0 has has the pretty convenient Keeper of the Grove to answer to this. It's
Yeah,
this,
and it allows. Oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was I was just gonna say this whole game seems to be because Xixo got the walled growth, he has had the initiative, and Kolento's been trying to answer him and stall him out the entire game.
Yeah, I think that's a really accurate way to describe it. It just seems like pretty much no matter what he does, like on Kolento, sorry, Xixo is able to answer it and leverage the board. So now he can play Keeper of the Grove. He can utilize removal, so that way he's not just playing catch-up. And he can still sneak in damage, not to mention that he's building the body count for Savage Roar and Force of Nature to be game-ending. So this does not look very good
Yeah.
for
Um,
uh, for Kolento.
yeah, I think this is one board that Kolento won't have any solution against, especially because he's running double Azure Drake. Double Azure Drake is actually becoming very popular lately, and I think pretty much every list these days runs that card. It's partly because of the Emperor, I feel, and just cycling through your deck makes the Emperor so much better as
Yep.
opposed to just putting up taunts like Sledge Belcher and Drew the Claw. Kolento essentially just kind of passes the turn in terms of board control, and Xixo will be able to force a Nature Savage or even does it out of order, showing some classic Xixo BM.
That's right. All right, well, that's game number one. 6-0 wins the Druid versus Druid with good tempo. Kolento gonna have to dig a little bit deeper into his other his other classes for better matchups. Or maybe he sticks on Druid, who knows? 6-0 still has Warlock and Shaman. And the problem is, though, you can't truly know what kind of Warlock or even what kind of Shaman that he might bring.
Yeah, in terms of Warlocks, Xixo has always favored the Demon Lock variant in the past couple of months. Um, in addition, we've seen his teammate Amaz using Bane of Doom in Demon decks, and it's actually seen some good results getting... He actually got Mal'Ganis in the Kingwin Pro League yesterday against the Phase Hunter, yet he still lost. That's quite unfortunate. But yeah, I totally expect to see kind of like a Demon Lock variant here. That being said, I feel like Handlock would actually be really good against Kolento. In recent tournaments, Kolento has been known for using Priest. So yeah, Handlock would definitely be a good pick. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that either is plausible at this point. I'm not entirely sure which one is more guaranteed here. Kolento looks like he's gonna do with Priest though. Priest is pretty strong considering that Kolento is very comfortable with the class overall, and more importantly, didn't he just win a tournament by playing Priest?
Yeah, he's actually played this version of Priest throughout his last three tournaments. The Gamers Assembly 2015 was the tournament he won, which was an open tournament of 128 people. He got through Swiss rounds in first place, and then he dominated the bracket phase. His lineup was Priest, Paladin, and Druid in that tournament. He also brought this Priest to Via game, and he also used this Priest to win China versus EU. So it's actually not a very
Right.
standard Priest list. It has 2 copies of Shrinkmeister, a Recombobulator, 2 Shadow Madness, and 2 Cabal Shadow Priest. So just a very combo heavy Priest instead of the typical standard Priest, I would say. This list doesn't even run Dark Cultist, so that's kind of tells you how combo it is.
Yeah, but at the same time, it can respond to pretty much anything. And like you said, that Recombobulator can be pretty impactful. Not necessarily against the aggro, but well, you know, it still has something that challenges the board. It turns the Nordshire Cleric into a Murloc Raider, and that contests the Whirling Zap-O-Matic. Who knew?
Yeah, that's actually an upgrade. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
An upgrade. You'd rather want this 2/1 Murloc instead of your Northshire Cleric. Yeah, we also have to comment on Xixo's choice to use Mech Shaman. I don't believe we ever seen him use this deck, so maybe it's one of the players' ideas here to tell him to use Mech Shaman. I know Firebat is there at the moment. He might not be at the house, but maybe his teammate is telling him, hey, just bring this deck along. Why not?
Yeah, it could be. And honestly, that wouldn't necessarily be the worst choice here, considering that it's really effective against decks that are really passive, aka the priest that might be really passive. You sometimes might be able to squeeze in huge burst opportunities, especially with Whirling Zap-O-Matic on board. I've seen like turn 3 or turn 4 kills because of Flame Tongue Totems and Rock Biters. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Kolento was actually fairly lucky that he got a Murloc Raider. I know how funny that sounds, but at least it let him contest the board. And if he got another 1-3 like the Void Walker, then he would just be in a lot of trouble.
Well, looks like we're going to see the Sludge Belcher try and buy some time. Will it buy time, though? Because sometimes you just find the Air Shock and then you just punish it completely. Second Power Mace, Doom Hammer. Ooh, there's Harrison Jones way on the other end. But does that buy him enough time, though?
Yeah, even though there is Harrison, he's still looking at 6 more damage to the face in the coming turn. That being said, drawing 6 cards always seems pretty good, I have to feel.
I agree.
You don't even mind overdrawing at this point, because you're going to have all your tools. Oh, it's quite unfortunate that Kolento, he's drawn 1/2 of the Archon combo, but he hasn't drawn the second circle yet, which is what he'll need to clear up the board in the following turns. That being said, like, Xixo really wishes he had a Lava Shock right now just to get rid of these loaded mana crystals.
So he has to reach into the future and tap into Black Rock Mountain, which has that card, so...
Yeah. It's actually, Lava Shock is going to be coming next week, so you might even see it partly in Sea Story Cup.
That'd be pretty neat, man, if that was the case.
Wow. Again, really unfortunate for Kolento. He actually burned his first Circle of Healing, so that Archon is going to be not the best of cards right now. He's going to have to just use it for a standard ping. And Mech Warper, oh man. It's a pretty good one.
Yeah, Mech Warper like benefits with the Whirling Zap-O-Matic. I mean, it allows him to squeeze in this Fire Elemental, which is just so huge. I guess in the end, though, you'd want to get the guaranteed buff. So going for this trade seems okay, and Lota to shut it down. What a really funny sequence of events, man, where it's like all of a sudden you're not exactly sure if this Shaman deck can be stopped, even though you have the biggest hand in the world. Like, Kolento has almost every card drawn in his deck, but with spells shut down, that is really difficult to deal with.
Yeah, again, this Priest deck is really combo heavy with 2 Shrinkmeisters and 1 Recombobulator along with all of his other options. So if you don't draw into those combos early game against aggro, you're going to have a hard time. Even with 10 cards, he's kind of drawing like half of each combo. He has the Walled Pyromancer, but he's burned some of his Power Word shields. He has the Arcanine, but he burned the Circle of Healing. So this is gonna be his best option here. But ooh, a Fell Reaver. Okay, I see how it is, Xixo.
Yeah, I guess that Fell Reaver is just to align with the aggression strategies where you don't really care too much about what you're drawing next. You just care about killing your opponent. I personally like it. It's nice. Well, Monk, I'm pretty sure that Xixo can find a way to kill his opponent really soon. What's the way that Kolento can stabilize here?
He needs a second Arcanine plus his second circle, I feel. Otherwise, it's going to be pretty much impossible to clear the board at this state. Also, a Light Bomb would help, but we know that Light Bomb is not run in Kolento's deck. He's actually... I've talked to him about the card. He's actually criticized it and criticized the whole the Chinese Light Bomb Priest for being just a slightly worse version of the Control Priest that he likes to use.
What a hater. Imagine if he had Light Bomb now.
Yep. And then he Light Bombs, then Alakir is drawn, and then Kolento's still like, see guys, I was right, Light Bomb is terrible.
Can you imagine if he was able to have like an Emperor and all these cards were super cheap and then you just fatigue out your opponent from here because Priest can do wild stuff?
Oh yeah.
That'd be so cool.
Actually, Kolento does not run Emperor in this deck, interestingly enough. So I guess he values the the more consistency of drawing into his combos rather than sometimes
Right.
drawing into a dead Emperor and you don't have any cards in your hand.
Right. No, it happens a lot, especially with Priest, where you have to expel cards very quickly sometimes in order to survive. Um, Although, one thing that Emperor does benefit off of are decks that can stack cards that are more than 1 for 1. So like Azure Drake, for example, will always just pay for itself, but you won't ever stack it significantly. So that way the Emperor reduces a lot of cards. If, say you do a Circle of Healing combinations and you're drawing like an insane amount of cards, maybe you can do something there.
Yep, just saw a ton of cards being burned by
Yeah.
Kolento, but fortunately, I don't believe he's burned through any of his direct damage cards. Xixo just needs one more point of damage to the face in order to win this game, but
That's
if
really annoying.
if he doesn't get it, Kolento does have some chances to come back, especially if he draws Light of the Naru on the next turn.
Yeah, that card can heal up for 3, put some board presence, and maybe he has an opportunity to do this. No.
Nope. No
But-
opportunity to draw any cards either.
That's okay though. He has a board clear, correct? He can Shadow or Death the Fire Elemental and then shoot down the Furling's Appomatic with the Archon.
Yeah.
So that seems to be reasonable.
I feel that he probably doesn't want to get the Akana in the field though.
So, because you'd be losing out. Right.
Yeah.
You can't heal.
Yeah, I like, he's going for the Shadow Madness into Shadow Word Death play, which I like slightly more.
Yep.
And we might see Kolento actually stabilizing here if Xixo can't draw into some kind of burst.
Okay. Oh, okay,
Dr.
so he's damaged at first. Dr. Boom off the top. Yeah.
That's always going to be a good one, especially because you've seen your opponent use 2 Shadow Word Deaths. And Kolento does not run Mind Control in this deck. So I don't actually see a way for Kolento to get out of this sticky situation.
Mm-hmm. This one's going to be really tough. Unless... Okay. I'm trying to think of like wild scenarios. But I can't think of it. I really can't.
I guess maybe he has to Cabal Shadow Priest the Taunt Totem. And
oh man, that's creative.
And then if the bombs hit in a certain way, then like if the bomb hits for 1 to the face, or 1 to the Cabal Shadow Priest, and then the Dr. Boom won't be able to get through. So Kolento's still not dead yet.
Right.
Oh, unfortunately.
Oh.
Well, now he's dead.
Yeah, there's nothing he can do about it. That Boombot will get through, guaranteed. And Dr. Boom will finish it. Xixo is up 2-0. That aggressive Shaman deck doing work.
Yeah,
Look at that.
I like it a lot. Now, whoever recommended Xixo this Shaman deck, gotta give some praise to him.
I don't know who it is, but I think Xixo, like, I was talking to him on the car, and he was just saying, like, yeah, I think I'm going to randomly pick whatever deck that I just want to play. You know, he's not really trying to give away too much information. Maybe he is playing this at Sea Story Cup, but it's one of those things where it's one of the matches before a big tournament, so he's in the middle of trying to like struggle with whether or not he should be playing like a super crazy deck or he should just play something that's standard, so that way he doesn't, give up his wins and his standings.
Well, I know Xixo at the last Sea Story Cup, he was very close to the title, just barely being edged out by Savitz, even though they both brought like the MVP deck of the tournament, which was double Doomhammer Shaman. So Xixo's really going to be looking forward to take this win, and I can definitely believe it if he's not trying like the hardest here, if he's not trying to reveal all his secret tech plans. Xixo has been struggling a bit lately in both in leagues and in tournaments. So I think he really needs that. He's a player that really needs one of those big wins pretty soon in the form of Sea Story Cup, perhaps.
I'm sure he'll do fine, man. Well, sure he'll do fine. We'll see how it ends up panning out. Game number 3 is going to be with Xixo's Warlock, and Kolento has to win with all 3 of his classes. And if it's Handlock, That's gonna be tough, Monk. I don't know how else to say it than that. It's gonna
Yeah.
be really difficult to try and like squeeze in everything, both tempo and pressure against Handlock with Priest. Druid might be able to get away with it, and of course Warrior. That's a struggle just against straight up control versus control, and being able to line up your removal and playing correctly. So I'm just looking at whether or not Kolento can do this, and it's going to be really tricky. But now, of course, if Xixo just decided to flip around and play Zoo, that's a different story.
Oh, it is going to be Sixo's very standard and very very demon-y demon lock.
Very demony demon lock.
Yes. That was the adjective I
Sounds
was looking
like something that you would queue into on ladder, right? When it starts doing the spinning blades, and it would just barely dodge the demony demon lock
for. Yep.
for a worthy opponent.
Or a mediocre monk, which is actually one of the options.
Really?
Yes.
That's pretty hilarious.
Trying to send me a message there, aren't you, Blizzard? I see how it is.
That's good stuff. I like that they have a sense of humor. Kolento, do we see what class you get to choose? Oh, it's Druid. Druid versus the Warlock.
It's gonna be priest, I believe, right?
Oh, is it Priest?
Yeah. We did see a
Oh, sorry, I was interpreting the class incorrectly from the board. You're right.
Yep. Yeah, Northshire Cleric and Light of the Naru are priest cards, so we're gonna be seeing those. Even though this is an very unfavored matchup, actually, it's not, I don't know if it's even unfavored because it's Demon Lock and not traditional Hand Lock. So Kolento does have a lot of ways to get into this game. For example, Shriekmeister and Caballing a Twilight Drake or a Void Caller are all very good plays. Recombobulating a Shadow Madness Sludge Belcher is yet another good play. Although I don't believe Xixo actually runs Twilight Drake or Sludge Belcher in this deck, so maybe
Yeah, it
forget what I
doesn't
said.
seem common. You can have the Void Caller instead of the 4-drop, so that way you can put out that Mal'Ganis and whatnot. So yeah, I wouldn't anticipate it. Yeah, I'm trying to think about like any other specific cards that would give Priest of Trouble sometime, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I feel like this deck is much more manageable than the
Wow.
standard.
Well, how about the implosion on your own egg so you can put out the 4/4? Xixo wants to end this series and move on. I think he's hungry. He was telling me that. He was like telling me how hungry that he wanted to. He had a long trip from Berlin to Dusseldorf, so.
Well, maybe after the cast, you guys can get some kebab or whatever treats are in
Yep.
Creffield.
Donor. That's pretty much it. And good pizza.
Really? There's good pizza there?
Yeah, man. You ever been to Vapiano? That place is legit.
I can't say I have, but wow, Kolento kind of punishes his implosion play.
Right. And he's really going to incentivize the Northshire Cleric to trade in. It's okay because the Northshire Cleric isn't often going to get too much value. Not to mention the next following turns, you're going to be most likely trying to play cards like Sludge Belcher, your Cabal Shadow Priest if you can pick up value, or whatever opportunity you do. So I like that play. It was nice.
Yeah. So instead of giving up his 4/1, Xixo actually is going to trade his Power Overwhelming for the Northshire Cleric. I like it. Kolento's saying that he's telegraphing that he doesn't have an AoE, and indeed he doesn't. The only AoEs actually in this deck are the Wild Pyromancers, and he has one Holy Nova. So setting up a Light of the Naru behind a Sludge Belcher. I guess it's kind of like setting up an Armor Smith, and wow, Bane of Doom, and he has a perfect target here.
Bane of Doom.
Kolento was not playing around Bane of Doom. Imagine if Mal'Ganis comes out here. Let's see. Oh, worst option.
Close, Monk. You called it, but he got the opposite. He actually got the exact opposite of Mal'Ganis. Actually, the exact opposite would be Blood Imp, right? That would be the worst.
I would love to see Blood Imp though. It's your opponent knows he doesn't have. Your opponent has telegraphed he doesn't have AoE, so maybe Blood Imp would even be better.
Yeah, make if he pushes out Jiraxis by with Void Caller, it's like a 316, 317. It just keeps growing with the Defender of Argus. Insane. Wow, well, Kolento has built the board. But there is Shadow Flame, and there are ways to climb back. Can his opponent answer Sylvanas, for example? Xixo doesn't even want to see the next card. That's how convinced he is that Sylvanas is the right play.
Yeah, unless he runs an Emperor in his deck, then I think Sylvanas is a pretty good choice.
I agree.
There's quite a few options here.
Yeah, I guess he could dig for more as well with Power with Shield.
Yeah, unfortunately at this point, I feel like the hero power is what's giving Xixo such a huge advantage in this game. Kolento has given up his Northshire Cleric, so he doesn't really have the drop opportunities here. The Warlock hero power is often what wins Warlock games, and not the cards itself in the deck. Oh wow, Kolento's just going on the aggression here.
Well, half of it, right? He's just realizes he doesn't have a good trade, so he's going to make Sylvanas attack, and then not play any other cards, so that way it's not an easy Shadow Flame, right? Because if Kolento, if he played a big card and then manipulated the board, then he may be able to steal a better card. So he wants to be careful about that.
That being said, this play might be slightly punished with a Defender of Argus, for example. Not really too many good options for Xixo. He has a lot of the situational cards and a lot of his big minions, but none of the really solid minions that he really wants to put on the board at this point.
What do you think about this? What if you Dark Bomb the Voidwalker and then Abusive Sergeant the what's it called? The Light Warden, and then steal the... Okay, well, this is fine, too. You keep Sylvanas. I was just thinking about being cute, that's all.
Yeah, I like that he gave up the big game hunter there, because if he knows Kolento's list, he knows that there's no such things as Ragnaros or Dr. Booms in the list. So just giving up the big game hunter as a 4-2, I guess that's pretty good. In addition, the only things that Kolento could steal from Thoughtsteal in Xixo's deck that are 7 attack or more is the Dr. Boom left in Xixo's deck. So big game hunter probably wasn't going to get much value.
That's a really good point, actually. The only thing that you're concerned about then is if he steals Mal'Ganis somehow through mind control, or maybe Sylvanas, Shadow or Death. Not out of the realm of possibility.
So we might see big boy Lord Jiraxis coming down on the field right now, and that's always been a card that's been just so amazing against Priest. It's being cut out in a lot of handlock lists these days because you're really afraid of Druids just comboing you out or Rogues comboing you out on turn 9. But in a Demon Lock list, it's really good because you can usually just get it out from a Void Caller in the early turns, and a 3/15 is still pretty hard to deal with.
Right. How do you deal with the Jiraxis if you... I mean, he has Harrison Jones, but it's one of those things where, even if you have that, sometimes the hero power, like you say, can grind you out. A Doom Guard comes off the Bane of Doom, and that makes up for earlier for the Voidwalker. So I guess they're even Steven.
Yeah, if you just think about the demons that can come out of Bane of Doom, they're usually pretty amazing. I mean, you do have the whiffs like Blood Imp, Maiden of Pain, and Voidwalker, but then pretty much everything else is really high value. Like you have the Jiraxis, Mal'Ganis, Doomguard, Dread Infernal, and Floating Watcher. Those are kind of your MVP cards.
Yeah, sometimes even getting Illidan isn't bad either, because then you can benefit off of the small, Dark Bombs and Mortal Coils and start building a board again too.
Yeah, how could I forget about Illidan? Xixo has actually been just playing Illidan in his Demon Lock deck, but...
Straight up, right?
Yeah, just straight up, exactly. And I guess that's pretty good, but I think he's probably replaced at this point with Bane of Doom because Bane of Doom essentially summons Illidan and does 2 damage at the same time. All for 5 mana.
So funny. He's the complete package, if you ask me. All right, well, taking a look at this, it seems like Kolento is just waiting, perhaps, for that Harrison to be able to land him a key moment. And to meantime, just gonna wait. It's maybe Sylvanas can dig him back onto the board here.
Yeah. Xixo has been kind of reluctant to play Jiraxis, and I think that's actually because he suspects that Harrison Jones is in Kolento's hand. Because Jiraxis is typically a really good card against Priest, but if Harrison comes on the board, you're going to be pretty sad. Oh, even a second
True.
big game hunter.
Ah, 2 BGH. You know, when you're playing Abusive Sergeants and other ways to buff, I don't mind playing like a lot of big game hunters. Just a lot of ways to punish your opponent and make them feel really awkward in general.
Yeah, basically the combo with Abusive Sergeant, you can pretty much... It actually acts like a Shadow Word Death, that Abusive Sergeant big game hunter combo.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But I had to say that
Mhm.
maybe bringing 2 big game hunters to against Kolento might not have been the best choice because he typically doesn't run too many decks with minions that have over 7 attack. Like for
True.
example, just this one. Like most people, they run 2 Doctor Booms or 1 Doctor Boom in every single deck, but this is actually going to be a control deck that doesn't run Doctor Boom. Can you even imagine that?
Sounds crazy to me, Monk.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I actually...
Kolento does run Doctor Boom. He thought steals 1, in fact, and that big game hunter is actually gonna get some use. Surprisingly.
Sounds good to me. That's exactly what Six will play around. Good job. Yeah, I guess he doesn't... No need to attack the egg. You had the bigger board. Maybe let your opponent pass and see how they respond. Dark Bomb number 2. Yeah. A little
So
uncomfortable. So Big Game Hunter comes down, but that's just another target for Sylvanas to bully on the board.
Kolento, I would say, is in a pretty good position. That being said, he's actually running fairly low on cards. And Xixo is just gonna go on the aggression. I really like how Xixo plays his Demon Lock deck, by the way. Oftentimes when I play too defensively, and we just see Xixo just making these very aggressive plays, trying to set up lethal every single turn.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. And I like that he's he's playing fast still, though. Isn't that what's impressive about the whole ordeal? It's like he's still able to calculate everything really quickly. Good stuff overall. Looks like Kolento is seeing if he can try to take care of this board somehow. I think his deck only runs 1 Holy Nova 2, right? So he doesn't have like access to a lot of AoE outside of the Archon circle.
Yeah. He either needs that or... To be honest, though, I think he has a decent time clearing a lot of this board. Implosion helps a lot for this case.
Didn't kill a defender. And that went to the face. Yeah. That was less than desirable. But he rolls high on Implosion, so, he takes some of the good with the bad here. Kolento did get some good rolls off of that Implosion. And is it time? Is it...
That's lethal.
Oh, that is lethal. You're right. That's enough damage to just squeeze it in.
Yeah, I was actually just gonna say, Xixo runs 2 Power Overwhelmings in this deck, and if he draws either one of them... Oh, he actually used one before, so if he drew his second Power Overwhelming, that would just be it. And we see Xixo, surprisingly, he goes 3-0 against Kolento, even though Kolento, he looked to be stabilizing.
Yeah, that's right. So, wow, what a series. Again, another 3-0. And that's uncharacteristic of Kolento, but uncharacteristic of just in general of Conquest. I feel like Conquest has been more 3-2-ish. than this. To have three zeros like that just kind of lined up every single time. Pretty rough stuff considering that I felt like Kolento was in a pretty good spot coming off of that win in France with his priest deck. So good job to Xixo. And I'm sure that's a really good confidence booster because I'm not sure how, again, serious he was intending on taking this, but I guess a win's a win.
Yeah, certainly a win. And Xixo, even though Kolento won't be attending Sea Story Cup, I feel like Xixo has gotten up that confidence boost. After all, Kolento is a huge tournament winner. He's won 2 tournaments in the last month. So I think Xixo, if he can beat a tournament winner, you might as well be a tournament winner yourself.
Yeah, well, maybe it's the beginning of a good omen for Xixo. Well done. And we're going to be done with our second series of the day. Monk, who do you have coming up next?
We actually have Ping Ping Ho, the Taiwanese player, going up against Tice NL coming right up next.
All right, awesome. Well, it's been a really quick day, guys, so we don't want to, end it too quickly. So let's go ahead and take an opportunity to talk about what this tournament's about. Like one thing that we didn't really mention at the beginning of the stream, because we didn't have a formal introduction, was that this is a Pro-Am tournament. So even though you see the pro players playing in their round of 16 and constantly having round robin, there's also an amateur division with almost 15,000 open participants. That's pretty nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, that is pretty amazing. A lot of people have been saying we have a need for open tournaments. Well, here it is. The amateur division of the NVIDIA Hearthstone Pro-Am tournament lets you break into the scene, helps you just become that next, the next Orange or the next Hoij, right?
Hoy, and if you want to turn back the time even more, guys like RDU and Tice and even Xixo were just guys who went through qualifiers all the damn time. They'd be playing in it. And that was an opportunity for them to punch their name onto the ticket. And that's an opportunity for, people in the future too. This is already in week 3, coming up on week 4. The open players will be taking the top 16 and playing against 16 seeded. And hopefully from then they can start getting more recognition and opportunities for them in the future. So that's what this is all about, and that's why we really enjoy it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to get ready for our third match of the day. So don't go anywhere, guys. More Hearthstone action right after this.